Brett, great seeing you, man. First interview for the year. How were the holidays for you and the family?
Thanks for asking. Magical. I think with our kids getting older now and being at that exactly perfect age for the holiday spirit to just be running wild in our house, it was a beautiful time. All of them had the best Christmas, and it was a winter wonderland out here on the farm. It was amazing.
Okay, but there's something going on with you, man, which you need to explain. What is it with you and technology that seems
Ah,
to be some kind of a Terminator war going on? Because I saw one of your posts, and brother, I've known you for a long time. I don't think I've ever heard you cursing, even though it was blanked out,
yeah.
ever that much about technology. What's going on with you and phones or whatever?
Great question. I'm just done with it. There's no denying, and it's just been piling up, piling up, piling up. I mean, I we were living in Nashville for kind of the back half of the year at our home there, and my phone just simply weren't working. So I went in and I said, "Well, screw it, I will go and get an American phone." So I went and I bought an American phone, and it was working. So it was great. I could connect with the rest of the world. Just got this temporary number on Verizon or whatever it was, and then as a family, we went to Mexico. Prior to that, I went to Italy, and all of our gear, my laptops and everything, got stolen while I was in Italy on tour, and that's a story for another day. But so that's number two. Now from Italy, I flew to Mexico to be with Cecilia and the kids to end the rest of the year. We stayed there for a month, and while I was there, my wife accidentally dropped my phone in a cave to the very bottom of a cenote, so it's gone. So now I got no phone, no laptop, I got no technology. So I just used my wife's phone, called my management, and I said, I'm out for the rest of the year. You're not going to hear from me. So now I come back at Christmas, and my team's like, "Hey, we got to make some TikToks. We got to make some TikToks. We got to do content day." So we're doing it. Their phone isn't working. My phone isn't working. I'm just explaining the story of losing two phones and a laptop. And then I kid you not, Rudy, I got this brand new phone, this brand new iPhone, this one right here. This is the brand new one, brand new, beautiful iPhone. It just went black 3 days ago. It doesn't work. You can't plug it in. It doesn't work. Simple as that. I have this energy about me, I guess, that destroys technology. So I'm gonna be like Elton John, Rudy. I'm gonna get a flip phone, and only 10 people are gonna have my number, and that's it. I'll show up to the gig. I'll do the interview, no problem. But it's a wild time for me.
Okay, you know what? You have every right to curse and swear as much as you want over. I could have, you know how it is these days. When you lose your phone, it's like you lost an arm. To lose
Yeah,
your laptop and not just lose it, have it stolen is like somebody just cut your head off at the same time, too. Like that's insane.
yeah, and you know what? And it is what it is. The challenge with losing this stuff is that I don't know anything about technology anyway. So everybody's like, but that's fine. You backed up your laptop, right? You put it all in the cloud. I don't know what a cloud is. How do you do that? How do you just put it to the how do you put it to the cloud? And then how do you get it from the cloud? So for me, no, nothing was backed up, nothing was saved, and it's the pictures and it's the song ideas. There could be an Italian mobster that has my laptop and is going to become the next country star. And if I hear my titles on country radio from this Italian mobster, I'm going to know who it was.
Oh
That
my,
I
no,
can tell
I
you.
I agree. When it comes to look, I've had people say, when I've lost stuff on my phone, well, it's in the cloud, and I'm just like, where, what's the cloud? What's the cloud? And here's the thing: you can even put in the cloud, and it can still go missing. So people who
Absolutely.
talk about that nonsense, I do try every 6 months maybe to put on hard drive, because at
Yeah.
least with a hard drive, I can physically hold it in my hand. But the cloud thing, it's like, no. And even with that, you're still 6 months behind when you have to read. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then this is the other issue that really gets me. And I get it's all about safety and security concerns. But all of these passwords that I need to know, I decided, okay, well, I'm not going to resist it. I'm going to put all the passwords in my phone, which is
Yeah.
very foolish, under a note that says passwords. So it's got everything with all these exclamation marks and dollar signs and uppercase and lowercase and symbols and everything. Well, I can't remember these things. Then I lose my phone. Then I get a new phone and it sends me two-step authentication, and I don't remember any of this stuff. So I kid you not, I'm gonna get a flip phone, and I'm gonna be done with it for the world. I'm gonna get a flip phone, and Rudy, I'll give you the number. That way, if you want to do an interview, I'll say I'll have to fly to Toronto because I'm not doing the Zoom call stuff anymore.
Man, you know what? Honestly, I agree with everything you say, because plus they say that you're supposed to have different codes or whatever for whatever you've got. Because if you just have the one, then the person can break into everything you have. Either way, you're screwed, you know? So no, I agree with you. But anyways, yeah, you know what? You have every right to curse, swear, and to bash every computer and cell phone that you can find. But here's the weird thing, you know, because I was reading the press release, and correct me if I'm wrong, did it say that you're celebrating 10 years in the industry? Because to me, it feels like you and I have known each other longer than 10 years.
Well, before I got my record deal was when I met you. So
yeah,
your and my friendship definitely is about a dozen years or more. And then my career in the country music landscape, especially back home in Alberta where I grew up, I was doing it since I was a kid. So there's no denying this has been 25 years in the business. However, it's very difficult to quantify to most people that I'm 32 and I've been around for 25 years. Like, does that? But yeah, I was 7 years old making albums. That being said, it's a 10-year of a national career. I would say being known and recognized nationally has been a good, solid decade. And for that, there's room for celebration.
There you go. But how does it also feel, too, that you're in the position where like a Paul Brandt was, you know, 20 some odd years ago, where you have artists who are up and coming now, great Canadian artists who look at folks like yourself as the inspiration in great Canadian country music?
You know, that's a very interesting thing to think about, and I haven't thought about it much, but I do realize that I'm very much in that position at this particular time. With that, I think comes a lot of responsibility to do right by the industry, to do right by the genre of country music, the way that Paul Brandt, I believe, did right by the genre and still does every day, or Charlie Major, or you know, Anne Murray paved the way for, you know, the likes of Michelle Wright and Shania Twain. So with all that being said, I feel this great sense of responsibility, and I'm very proud to have that. But at the same time, it also lights a fire under me to understand that there are so many great artists that are coming up through the ranks that I respect so much, like Robin Ottolini and Josh Ross, and the list goes on, and even real newcomers like a friend of mine named Cody Robinson. If you haven't heard of Cody, he's from Ontario, and it has had some great singles out on the streaming services, and even dabbled at radio. It's got a great voice, a great look, and just a great thing going on. So there's a lot of artists coming up through the ranks that, you know what, I think it's important to make sure that I do my very best to encourage them, because there are a lot of artists, Rudy, that encouraged me in the early days, and I'll never forget that. Also, there are a lot of artists who tried to hold me back, and I knew it and I could see it, and I got to make sure I never do that either.
You know, it's so funny. As you were speaking, I was actually debating, should I get into that part or shouldn't I? And you brought it up. So I'm glad you did, because, you know, everybody knows you as this great guy, nice guy, giving guy, and things like that. People don't really know, and you don't actually show it, the struggles that you've had to have, because, you know, when we talk about Canadian country music, I mean, you see it on stage, you see it in duets and things like that. People are really together and helping each other. But at the same time, though, I've been involved with this a long time. It can be cutthroat. What was it like for you dealing with that part, but still trying to keep the essence of love and enjoyment of the business and to grow in that aspect instead of going the other way? It's almost like having the, you know, the angel on one side and the devil on the other side.
Absolutely. And the way that I was able to get through some of the negative circumstances that I faced was understanding that that was a very small percentage of my day. That was a very small percentage of the overall grand picture that I was trying to paint in this business and come up through the ranks. So 90% of the time, things were amazing. 90% of the time, things were phenomenal. And that's, of course, what I would talk about. That's, of course, what I would gravitate towards. But that 10% sometimes can get so distracting, or it can cause, well, negative news, bad news travels faster than good news. It always has, always will. So when you have something negative in your life, or you have a negative encounter with another artist, or you're trying to create something and there are other people or other camps or other record labels or whatever that might be holding you back for one reason or another, it's hard not to focus on that. So the reality is that stuff exists. It existed coming up through the ranks to varying degrees. It still exists today, but it's about having the right mindset, Rudy. And I was very lucky to have great mentors in the early days, and their teachings have really stuck with me to understand that that is just noise. If to use an old Western reference, if you're a horse and you are pulling your chuck wagon and you've got your blinders on just like this, you don't care what's on the right or the left. You could have all of this chaos all around you, but if you forge your own path and focus only on what you're doing, then you're going to have success. It doesn't matter. All of these other things are distractions. And I've actually taken the bait a couple of times and got distracted by some of the BS that was going on around me. I'm not going to say I regret those decisions because they were learning opportunities, but you know what? I ain't going to fall for that stuff anymore. That's for sure. And just understand that 90% of the time, our industry is a great big family. And yes, I cling to those relationships with so many great artists that are dear friends or uncles to my kids or aunts to my kids. That's the stuff that really matters. And that's all I really care about now.
Does family help keeping you focused?
Yes, it's the number one biggest focus. And anybody in business, whether you are, going to be, you're on track to becoming the next CEO, or you are in any business, no matter what, if anybody says, but be careful about family because they can be a distraction, that's the biggest heaping pile of BS I've ever heard in my life, because family is my number one. And the more that I focused on my family, the more successful I ended up being in the outside world. Isn't that interesting? No one ever tells you that. But sometimes the power of no to a concert or an event actually builds the story of integrity to say, it's my daughter's birthday. I'm not going to miss it. If you really want me to play, I'll be there next year. No problem. Or I'll just do it next month. There are all of these great things that sometimes can happen if you wind up saying no. So that's just a little tidbit of information that I've learned over the years as I've started to prioritize my family a lot more than I did, when our kids were little. I'm not saying I regret it again, but I learned the hard way. So I'm very, very grateful to be the dad that I am now.
Absolutely agree with you. And you're a fantastic dad. You're one of the few guys that I actually see when a big award shows or things that happen, you actually bring the family with you. I've seen them on red carpets. I've seen them at dinners. And I think that's a very, very cool thing. And I'm also curious too, because the interview is really about new music. Everything that we've talked about, is that sort of telling the story in what we're going to talk about now in the new music that you're releasing?
Yeah, very much so. There are so many different things that make their way into my day-to-day life. But as I strip away a lot of the noise, I realize that the four biggest things are these directions of the compass that really point where my heart goes on a daily basis or on a yearly basis or over the last decade. So the Compass Project is very artistic. The Compass Project is very, very special to me. But why I'm so proud of this record is that each distinct direction has a real piece of me, and I get to do an entire album as an ode to those pieces of my heart. So instead of just doing one 8 or 10 song record and having little tidbits, I'm going and doubling down or quadrupling down, I guess, my effort on 4 albums, North, East, South, and West, and I'm proud of them all.
That's amazing, man. But we do have a new single out right now.
That's right. So Never Have I Ever is a bouncing and catchy and up-tempo banger that comes out of the South album. And the South album is really dedicated to the heartbeat of Nashville That's why when I point the compass needle to the south, you have to think about Music Row and the great memories that I've made in Nashville and the songs that I've written there and that entire flavor that is new country. So Never Have I Ever is the catchiest song that I've ever written. And Rudy, I mean, I can't even believe it. It's my most successful song out of the gate. And I've had 10 years with a major label. So to have a song that is nearing 2 million streams in the first 9 days is bigger than Drink About Me or Anthem or We Were That Song or Airwaves or anything I've ever done or Make a Life Not a Living. So I'm really, really grateful that the response of Never Have I Ever has been, well, gigantic.
And what is it about?
Never Have I Ever talks about the theme that I'm sure you and your buddies or you and a girlfriend or you and your family in the early days, all the parties that we used to have, we played the game Never Have I Ever. It's kind of like Truth or Dare. And so I remember staying up till 6 a.m. and then going to bed at 6 a.m. Whereas now it's crazy. I'm a dad and I'm waking up at 6 a.m. So it's a real crazy 180 spin. But this song talks about the good old days and the parties and the drinking and the dreams and the plans that we had back when we didn't really have a care in the world.
Oh, miss those days. So how is the rest of this going to be released? How is this going to work? Because we've got one, I think it's, as we speak, is it January 27th?
That's right. So the full
Okay.
South album will be out on January 27th. Very, very proud of that record. Late March, we're going to release the East album. And the East album is really unique because this is an all acoustic album. Think about songs like Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud or Darling, You Look Perfect Tonight, like all those kinds of songs that are just so beautiful and heartfelt. Well, I've got a whole album about it with a real a dedication to especially the ocean and the feeling that you get when looking at a body of water, if that's probably the best way to describe it. The East Coast especially, I'm so fond of. So there's a lot of beautiful songs about the land and about love. And Rudy, if you and I were sitting around a campfire and we had a drink in our hands, these are the songs that I would play for you that I'm really proud of. So made an entire record about that. Then we point the compass to the West, which, as you can imagine, is country and Western. This is an entire album dedicated to the songs you probably hear on Yellowstone. You know, it's all about oil and cattle and hard work and playing cards and drinking whiskey and standing up for yourself in the Western way of life and the Western values that, I grew up living and being guided by growing up on a cattle ranch that's been in our family for 115 years. And then the North album is a greatest hits record. So all of my singles, but Rudy, they're live versions. So we have Drink About Me live from Toronto or Airwaves live from Halifax, or We Were That Song live from the Calgary Stampede. So we've recorded over the last 5 years, and I've selected my favorite songs from my favorite shows as an ode to the North, to this amazing life I've been able to live in Canada.
Did you hear what you just said, though, man? Greatest hits. Not every, people need to realize this. Not every artist ever gets a chance to say, I'm releasing a greatest hits. And when they do, it's usually at a time when they don't have any music to release. So they release a greatest hits. You're doing it while you're still releasing new music. That's amazing, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It is pretty crazy to look back at, over the past decade and all of the great things that we've been able to accomplish. And I say together because, Rudy, you've been there every step of the way, from Canada's Walk of Fame to the very first time I got to walk a red carpet at a gala at TIFF, to the CCMAs and the Junos, and the list goes on. You've been able to take my music as a newcomer, as a rookie, as a rising star, and take it to the masses. And now you fast forward all this time, and yeah, your buddy Brett Kissel, that you knew from the very beginning, has the greatest hits. So it's a reason to celebrate.
That is amazing, man. Oh my goodness. What's happening tour wise? And I want people to know this because we've talked about this before. I actually give you credit in helping bring Canadian country music, not the Budweiser stage, because country music is always big at the Budweiser stage here in Toronto. But I'm talking about smaller venues like the Danforth, when you came and sold it out for 3 nights. And that had not happened. I don't think it's ever happened with a country act. And because of that, there were other venues that were able to bring in other Canadian country artists. I know Dakota always did something like that, but I'm talking about other venues like the Elmo Combo and things like that. They weren't doing that until you did that. Congratulations on that in bringing country music in a special way to Toronto.
Well, thank you, Rudy. You know, Toronto is such an extraordinary market, and I say the word market because there's it. You know, that's the way that I think about it. Of course, it's a great city, and there's pockets of amazing communities, but it is one of the most important markets in all of North America because of the population, and because if you can make it in Toronto, then it gives me the confidence to say there's a very good chance I can make it in New York, or I can make it in LA, or I can make it in one of the other massive cities like Atlanta or Chicago. And Toronto has a very, very loyal fan base. If you get in Toronto, you know that you can play probably anywhere else in the province, um, thanks to that. So it was always a big goal for me to play in Toronto as often as I possibly can. The drive-in shows that we did, the two amazing drive-in shows that we did were phenomenal in the pandemic. All those concerts we've done over the years at the Danforth. I wanted to play obviously Massey Hall in May, but I lost my voice, so I intend to come back to Massey because I need to. I need that. I need to play there for my bucket list, really. But Toronto is an extraordinary market. It's one of the best cities in the world, and I've been able to travel to hundreds of them. So I'm very grateful that you said that, but it also just goes to show how powerful Canadian country music is. You know, right now, it's amazing to see how well it's doing.
Is there going to be a tour throughout 2023? You got time for that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is. I had a really good conversation with my agent about where we're going to go, how we're going to get there, and exactly what we're going to do. And with family being the focus, usually I would go on the road for 2 to 3 months. Granted, my We Were That Song tour in 2018, I was on the road for 10 months, but I brought my family with me. Um, but knowing that my kids are in school and we've got such a beautiful farm here, and uprooting our family and taking them out on the road for 10 months is just not on the cards right now. We've got a very, very unique tour that will go across Canada, but really just do the weekends. So I will play, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly home on Monday so that I can be home with my family. So we're just organizing those details. Usually you'd also tour geographically, where you'd play Saskatoon, and then of course Regina, and then after Regina, of course Winnipeg, after Winnipeg, Thunder Bay, of course Thunder Bay to Sudbury, and you'd follow the map of Canada along the Trans-Canada Highway. You do that because that's the economical way to tour. But if I'm flying in, I might be able to do touring in terms of pockets and play Toronto and area, and then go home, and then play Vancouver Island, and then come home, and then play the Maritimes, and then come home. So it's going to be a very unique way to tour, and we just have to organize our dates first. But I promise you, I will play in Toronto. That's a fact.
Okay, is this really about the family or the NHL playoffs? Because I don't know, man. I'm feeling like this is organized so that you can watch the NHL playoffs or maybe be at a couple of games. Is it really family or the playoffs, or is it both?
Well, hey, so great question. I'm glad you're calling me out on it. But I will tour in the later part of the year. But in June, I'm expecting my Edmonton Oilers to go as deep as they did, and I'm hoping that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. So I told my agent Jim Cressman, I said, don't book me for many things in June. He says, well, why not? That's a prime month for summer festivals. I said, I don't care. If my Oilers are going to the Stanley Cup, I said, I don't want to pull an Eric Church and have to cancel a date at a festival because I'm going to watch a playoff game. Like, that's not going to go over well. So I said, just don't book me in June. So,
oh my gosh. And he did do that too. Yeah. Anyways, man, look, I'm going to let you go, let you get back to the family. Look, brother, it's always great seeing you. Thank you so much that we've started this year off doing this interview. Congrats with the new music. I know you and I are going to talk more. Crossing fingers that I see you in Edmonton for the Juno Awards in some
absolutely.
fashion.
I plan on attending. I've had some really good conversations with Alan Reed and the team to see how best I can be involved, obviously as an Edmonton guy. So I would love to be a part of it. Don't know where they will use me yet, but even if I'm not on stage somewhere, you're in my city. So Rudy, I'll take you out for a drink and have a good time visiting with you.
That means I got a diet, man, because I know I'll be eating some beef down there. So yeah,
Absolutely.
looking forward to that.
We got the best Alberta beef in the world, baby. So
Definitely, brother. Big love to you. Congratulations on the music and see you soon.
thanks a lot, Rudy. See ya.